Hey everyone, how are you? As they say in Bengali, Kemun Achish. Welcome to the Kolkata History Channel, where we take you back to the important events that shaped the former capital of India, then called Calcutta, but now called Kolkata, and also called the City of Joy. As I was thinking what should be the first topic to cover on this channel, the thought that came to my mind was, you guessed it, the Howrah Bridge. When I think of Kolkata, I think of the Howrah Bridge. The Howrah Bridge is a bridge that bridges across the river Hooghly. Now, that is a poem, right? The Howrah Bridge is Kolkata's lifeline, so it made perfect sense to dedicate the first video to the Howrah Bridge. That's a bridge that bridges over the river Hooghly. I want to say that again. Hooghly is very, very important. Did you know that this bridge has a very interesting history? The bridge is almost 80 years old. It was commissioned 77 years ago in February of 1943. It was the third largest cantilever bridge when it was built, and today it is the sixth largest in the world. Very impressive. Now, in case you don't know what a cantilever bridge is, you can see the types of bridges in this particular diagram. The cantilever bridge is shown on the bottom left. But you also have other types of bridges, the cable stayed bridge, the suspension bridge, the arch bridge, the truss bridge, and the beam bridge. But now today, we're going to focus on the cantilever bridge. A cantilever bridge is made up of cantilevers. Duh. Yeah, but what is a cantilever? A cantilever is a simple mechanism that has a fixed end in a wall or on a fixed surface like the bank of a river and a free end. And when you join up some of these cantilevers with trusses and nuts and bolts or rivets, as it is in the Howrah Bridge, you get, voila, a cantilever bridge. Now let's talk about the Hooghly. The Hooghly is a tributary of the holiest of Indian rivers, the river Ganges, or as we Indians call it, Ganga. And the Hooghly runs past the city of Kolkata, known as Calcutta before it was renamed. So how did Calcutta get its name? And why did that name change? But that is another video. And as you can see, there are so many histories of the city of Kolkata that need to be told. But now back to the Hooghly. It has been an important economic driver for the people in West Bengal. Back then, it was only Bengal, and especially supported the trade in Calcutta during the British India days. As can be seen here, the Hooghly River was full of boats. Most of the trade back then was by boats, and many folks wanted to cross the river, and the boats were not enough for the trade. So you might be wondering, why not ply more boats? Why did the British, who ruled India back then, build a bridge across this famous river? The biggest issue was that the tidal bore generated a lot of mud and slid, and tide destroyed small boats. And to connect the people from the Howrah side of the river to the city side of Kolkata, or Calcutta as it was known, boats were the primary means of transport back then. So the British Indian government, formerly mostly formed of British Indian civil officers, decided to act to find a supplement to the boats. And finally, one fine day in 1862, the government decided to ask George Turnbull, who was a engineer, a very famous engineer, to do a survey. Now, George Turnbull was the chief engineer of the East Indian Railway. He built the East Indian Railway right from Allahabad down to Howrah, and he had a very impressive track record. But he couldn't solve this problem so easily. His observations that the mud generated by the Hooghly would generate a huge cost for the bridge. And also being one of the busiest ports back in the day, building a bridge would hinder the trade at Calcutta port. However, he couldn't come up with a blank answer. He needed to please the committee, right? So he came up with a location near Pulta Ghat, about 12 miles north of Calcutta, where he found a bed of clay in shallow waters. He initially suggested a suspended girder bridge having 5 spans of 401 feet and 2 spans of 200 feet. But nothing happened for another 8 years, as this was not an easy problem to solve. And the key reason was money. The Calcutta Port Trust was incorporated in 1870, and legislative action was passed to enable the port commissioners to build a bridge with government capital, money. So what they did is they signed a contract with Sir Bradford Leslie, a noted engineer in England, to construct a pontoon bridge, which is a floating bridge. But how would the British get the steel necessary for the bridge? Back then, there was no steel manufacturing in India. So this bridge was manufactured in England and was shipped to Calcutta to be assembled and erected in India. The voyage from London to Calcutta took about 6 months by sea, a far cry from our 12 to 14-hour plane ride today. When the bridge was inaugurated in 1874, it became very popular very quickly. However, it was damaged by the Great Cyclone of 1874 by the ship Egeria in the same year. The ship rammed into the bridge, destroying portions of the bridge. The bridge could also be opened for ships back then to go upriver or for ships from upriver to go downstream. Increasing traffic across the bridge, causing immense load on the bridge, and the pains of opening the bridge for ships to pass by created a lot of hassles, and soon officials realized that yet another bridge needs to be built. The British, as usual, created yet another committee. The committee did a study of the bridge, and did you know what form of traffic routes the bridge the most? Bullock carts. Yes, bullock carts formed about 8/13 of the traffic across the bridge. That is a whopping 61.5%. Wow. By the 1870s, another form of vehicle started plying the streets of Calcutta. Do you know what it was? The car? The horse-drawn carriage? No, it was the tram, the famous Calcutta tram, which started with a horse-drawn version first and quickly gained popularity. The first electric tram started plying in the 1900s, precisely in the year 1902, because the initial horse-drawn carriages or trams were not very popular. So the new bridge would have to accommodate not only bullock carts, horse-drawn carriages, pedestrians, but also the trams. The committee was smart, and they also concluded that the new bridge needs to be a bit wider to accommodate two-way tram traffic, two-way roads for cars, as well as pedestrian traffic across the bridge. And don't forget the bullock carts. They were still around and they're still around today. As all committees do, they complicated the decision making. They proposed 6 options to build a new bridge, including a tunnel across the river, bridge designs of various kinds, and a steamer to carry vehicles and people across the river as one of the options. Finally, a floating bridge was the option picked, though the construction of the bridge kept on getting interrupted due to the First World War. Meanwhile, newer committees were formed, and one particular one was the Mukherjee Committee under the famous industrialist Sir Rajendra Nath Mukherjee. Rajendra Nath Mukherjee was a pioneer and a businessman in Calcutta, and he headed the third committee. He also constructed the Victoria Memorial and was the founder of the Indian Statistical Institute in Calcutta. So R.N. Mukherjee, along with Sir Clement Hindley, chairman of the Calcutta Port Trust, and the chief engineer McGlashan, came up with the idea of the bridge design that we know of today, the cantilever bridge. The reason, you guessed it, it was the river traffic in the muddy soil, as the bridge would need a solid base of clay, which was not found downstream as much as upstream, 12 miles north by Mr. Turnbull. Remember him? Anyway, fast forward to 1930, the Good Committee, the latest committee, as Render, Palmer, and Tritton, considered constructing a suspension bridge, a design prepared by Mr. Walton, their chief draftsman, initially a German company, Krups. Yes, that famous one won the bid to build this bridge. But however, there were a lot of tensions between Britain and Germany in the 1930s before the outbreak of the Second World War, and the contract was finally awarded to Braithwaite, Byrne and Jessup Company, which became an Indian Public Limited Company in 1935. And a new act called the Howrah Bridge Act was formed in 1935, and construction began in 1936. Incidentally, my grandfather moved to Calcutta in the year 1934, and he must have seen the old pontoon bridge. He also, incidentally, worked for the Port Commissioners Trust. The bridge has no nuts and bolts and has only rivets. So out of the 26,500 tons of steel, the Tata Group of companies supplied 23,000 tons of high quality tensile steel called Triscom. Do you know why? Back in those days, the Second World War was on and British ships were being attacked by the Germans. So while 3,000 tons of steel were shipped from England, the rest had to come from India. This was a huge opportunity for the Tata Group to supply steel for the bridge. During the 1870s, there was no steel production in India, but the Tata Group had started steel production in the year 1911. Construction of the bridge was not easy. Did you know that one night the entire bridge collapsed and sank 2 feet, and causing an earthquake and destroying a temple on the banks of the river Hooghly? The Kidderpur weather station recorded this as an earthquake in Calcutta, and the crew had to clear the muck. They discovered a lot of interesting objects while doing so, including cannons, cannonballs, anchors, brass vessels, and hold your breath, coins dating back to the East India Company. The bridge was finally completed in 1943, making it the third largest cantilever bridge in the world, behind Pont de Quebec in Canada and Firth Bridge in Scotland. The bridge is 1801 feet and cost 25 million Indian rupees back then. That is a whopping amount in today's value of money. Did you know who was the first to cross the bridge? Well, you guessed it. It was a solitary tram. Since then, this bridge is considered a gateway to the city of Kolkata. It has always been overloaded with pawn bird droppings, traffic, and tonnage. Now, bird droppings and pond spit and storms have caused significant wear and tear to the bridge. Now, heavy vehicular traffic like trams, which was one of my most popular memories of riding on top of the bridge, have been banned. Now, of course, you can still go across the bridge in the iconic Calcutta yellow cab. In 1965, this bridge was named as Rabindra Setu, and today the bridge is maintained by the Kolkata Port Trust. Three engineers monitor the bridge very closely. These are the three dudes in the orange jacket on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. So they can alert the authorities of any issues related to the bridge. Remember the bird droppings, the gutka pan stain, and oh, by the way, there's also sometimes some ship captains who think it's easy for them to pass under the bridge and they get stuck. Yes, that did happen. Culturally, the bridge is being very, very famous. It has been showcased in many of the Bollywood and Bengali films, especially Bimal Roy's Do Biga Jameen, noted director Satyajit Ray's Parast Patthar, Shakti Samanta's Howrah Bridge, and Amar Prem starring Rajesh Khanna and Sharmila Tagore, as well as, if you look very closely, you can spot a famous yesteryear's Bollywood actor singing Ye Calcutta Hai, riding on a tonga on the top of the bridge. As well as, let's not forget, South Indian film director Mani Ratnam's Yuva, which you can see also on the top right hand corner of the screen. The bridge looks really beautiful when illuminated at night and will always represent the spirit of Kolkata and the river Hooghly. Recently, the city of Kolkata launched a musical light display to attract tourism. And do you know who inaugurated this display? Yes, none other than Prime Minister Modi of India, inaugurating the light and sound show of the Howrah Bridge. So what do you like about the Howrah Bridge? What are your fondest memories? Please comment below. Meanwhile, consider liking and sharing this video and subscribing to my channel. Thank you very much.